Welcome back to the BB-Scho, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I'm your host, Beebs. I'm here with my co-host, Chen. We're here for some NBA Tuesday. Let's kick it off. We'll just kind of go around the league a little bit here to kick off our this fine NBA Tuesday. So, Chen, I'll throw it to you. What stuck out to you in the last week? We'll even go 2 weeks. NBA news.
Yeah, no. So here's a guy, Stephen Curry, that dropped 47 not too long ago. It was in
Did he
last
have?
night.
He had 47 last night. I was gonna.
47.
I have them written down in my notes. They almost lost their sixth straight game last night.
They did, and that was actually what I was gonna pivot to because Steph Curry is gonna be Steph Curry. But we're at the point in the season now where our concerns become, well, more concerning. And Klay Thompson just has not been the same player. I mean, even really dating back to last year, which no one can really expect. I mean, the man was out of basketball for 2 or 3 years, had severe injuries, just I think it was like an Achilles, ACL, just the worst. And so you didn't expect him to come back the same player. But I think it does raise questions, especially a team that is got a lot of young guys. Do you really consider moving, the other of the Splash Brothers in between Curry and Clay, that you move them? And I know that sounds crazy. I think a lot of Warriors fans would probably put a
You're talking
gun to
about
my head for
moving
saying it.
moving on from Clay.
I'm saying you trade him now while his value's the highest. I don't think he's going to get much better. He's only going to get older. That's just my
Oh,
2 cents.
I'm going to push back pretty hard on that. So I would,
I know it's
I
a
would,
hot
I
take.
would move him to the bench for Jordan Poole before I would trade him, if that makes sense. I just don't.
I
He's
think it
only under
depends on the
contract.
value for
He's only
me.
under contract until next year. So
Exactly. So why worry about paying him? You know who's down the line.
for
They
team
got
chem
many,
for team chemistry, if
but
they move on, what I'm saying is this: if they just for team chemistry reasons, they're not going to move Clay Thompson. Okay, we're all talking
I
hypotheticals.
don't
I think
know.
we
They
can both
probably
agree.
won't.
I
No,
think we can
yeah,
both agree
it's
this is highly unlikely
very
to actually
unlikely.
happen. Um, I would consider them starting Poole over Thompson before that, but you got to remember. I mean, how many games has Clay even played since he's been back? Dating back to last year, right? Like you're out of basketball for 2 years. It's going to take some. I mean, it takes some time to, especially when you have two injuries like that. It takes some time to figure out what you're capable of and what you're not. He's gonna struggle trying to find a new role on a team that he joined mid-season. Does that kind of make sense? Like,
Well, it does, but then even this season, it's like, all right, he's had a whole off season, went through the playoff run with them. It seemed like,
no, I agree.
hey,
It's it's
he's
it's
going to come out and maybe come out firing a bit, and the
it's
Warriors would pick where they left
definitely
off,
it's
and they're
definitely
4-6.
concerning. I'd have to look into this and see where his biggest value, in my opinion, even back in the day, was his defensive perimeter defense. That to me was his
Right.
biggest value. And if that, I'd have to look at the numbers and film.
It's
I
lacking
have
there
I
too,
have
though.
not
That's
to
the
see if it
problem.
truly is lacking. Or I mean, as a team, they're lacking defensively entirely
Agreed.
here. So
Agreed.
I don't want to put all the blame on him. Um,
He can't move like he used to, though, man.
it's
That's
a
something
fair
that's very
assessment.
clear.
It's a fair
And
assessment.
your staple is 3 and D, and while the defense isn't really there and the shots aren't falling, I really think if he gets on like one of his Clay Thompson hot stretches, that's when, if I was running the Warriors, I would trade him and get as much value as you can before his contract expires, and
You don't
you have to
trade
consider
a.
paying a guy
I
like that.
disagree. They're already paying him, so that's one thing. They're
Yeah, but
already going to get him if
they're
they
going
re-sign
more.
him after next season, they're going to get him cheaper. He's not going to be worth the contract he signed 2 years ago. There's no way there's no way
Yeah, it's
his
fair.
agent is going to go and say, oh, we need a max. Like, no, he's got an injury history. He's going to be in his low 30s. I mean, or maybe even mid 30s at that point. Like, it's not. I
I
think
guess it
he's going
really
to be
depends where we
cheap.
think the contract's going to fall. Because, yeah, if he takes a hometown discount, I guess it really doesn't matter. Like you said, if you just move him to the bench, but
I don't
I
think he's going to
just
play for anybody else. That's it's just not the Warriors' mo. Number one and number two,
that's fair.
it's like when
It's
the
a fair
Bulls
statement.
tried to trade Pippen and Jordan was like, no. Like the Bulls had that deal set for T Mac in '98, and they were
But
getting
they still traded them, didn't they?
after Jordan retired.
Yeah.
So I'm in this
But
case, Steph Curry. Look, I'm not Steph Curry. I don't know if he's going to do the same thing, but I would anticipate he would be like, you move him, you move me, or I'm not. I'm retiring
yeah,
if
no,
you
it's
move
fair.
him. Um, but yeah, I'll ask you this then. They're 4-7. They're 4-1 at home, 0-6 on the road.
Mm.
Lost 5 straight before last night. Barely came back. Riding Steph. Looked at the box score from last night. Very interesting. Jordan Poole 2 points.
Not a lot of shots either. And again, that's why I really think this team
Are
has
they
got a
just?
rotation issue.
That's
It's
what I
really
think it
just a
is. Are
matter
they
of
just young, trying to figure
yeah.
out a new roster, trying to figure out?
And you listen, I really I'm not gonna try and blame James Wiseman for all this, but it's different for the Warriors to have a 7-footer in there that if you give him the ball can go get his own shot. Not saying he's been the most efficient this year, but it's just something they haven't had since the dynasty started.
Yeah,
Even with KD and whatnot, they didn't have a 7-foot center that can do all the things a center can do. And also, we haven't seen it from Wiseman, but like coming out of college, he could shoot. I mean, that was what was like, oh, wow, like this team's can be dangerous when he's healthy. And he's been healthy, and he's just been okay. And so I think part of that is they're trying to get him going, but to only, to an extent, how many games are you going to sacrifice that? I mean, they won against the Kings. Don't get me wrong, but it was only by 3, and like it took a pretty big comeback, and even came out
are you
today like
legitimately concerned though? I mean, let's be real here.
legitimately no. It's some things they can clean up. It's not like I'm like, well, these Warriors, but I do think the defensive concerns are
That is more where I'm
something to
worried.
watch
Yeah,
because Steph is going to be 35 before the playoffs. We already talked about Clay's woes there. They got a couple of younger guys that can, scrap up and play defense. But ultimately, if Wiseman isn't up to the challenge, there's too many bigs that are going to come out of the East that are just going to have their way. And even in the West, with like Jokic, him having a full roster is going to be way different than him playing with Austin Rivers in a starting lineup last year. Like it's huge. So and look at the Timberwolves. I mean, we'll get to them too. And obviously, I think they're still going to make playoffs, but they have their concerns. How are they going to guard Towns and Gobert, even with just Wiseman? Like they
yeah.
have a
I think
serious size issue, and it's getting exploited. I think that's the only way you can really beat them. Realistically, is you just have to consistently score and hope you can limit them, shooting wise for the night.
that, and I honestly, I'm not concerned about the Warriors. First off, they played 11 games. They have an entirely new bench. They do this every couple of years. They just completely reshape the entire
Right.
structure of their team besides the three guys, Steph, Dre, and Clay. So um, you got so many, it goes deeper than Wiseman too, with guys who are like first or second year players who are like 21, 20, 22, 19 years
Yeah,
old.
no,
Like
the Kuminga, Moody,
Kuminga,
those
Moody,
guys.
Wiseman. Like you got it. Like you have all this young talent, and they are in a great system. They won a championship last year. They were on the roster, so they have that incredible playoff experience, right? Like I'm not worried. I think that it takes time to develop talent.
No.
You know,
And for comparison, when you bring up the 11 game sample size in NFL comparisons, it's like mathematically comparable to like 2-0, 3-0, or like 0-3, if I'm running the numbers correctly.
I wouldn't even say that because in the NFL, mathematically, if you go 0-2, you're like 90% of the time out of the playoffs, like 88%.
Yeah, so that would be like 0-9,
Yeah, you would
0-10
have to
type
be
thing.
like 0-10.
So
Uh,
realistically,
to
they're
be
like
3 games off
one and
500
one.
means, yeah,
We'll call it like like a rough 1-1 start. And we know in the NFL after week 2, for those that have been listening to that, we were never really sold right away on anybody. We had our, presumptions and
No,
whatnot,
yeah.
but I remember back in the time I was like, yeah, the Vikings ain't crap. Like after they got blown up by the Eagles, look where we are now. So
Well, you
that's
got to
just one
think
of those things
even
to keep
even
in
sticking to
mind.
the NBA. Think about the Celtics last year.
Yeah, very
They
true.
they
They
went
weren't
all
good
the
for the
way,
the
and
entire first half.
they were up 2-1 in the finals, and were terrible until like January 30th,
Right.
and then they won
Yeah,
at
it
like an
took them a long
80%
time.
clip. So yeah, I'm not worried about the Warriors. I am concerned about the defense, as we said, but in terms of being there come April and May, no, they'll be there.
No doubt. No doubt.
But
Another
you,
team I feel like you can't really be concerned about is the Trailblazers, who have been off to a blazing start. Oh, that was so cheesy.
that was
And
really cheesy.
that was so bad, man. Oh, that like pained me to speak. And I think they're at like the third or fourth seed. I think they're third. I
They
really
are
actually think they're locked in at three.
they're
It's the
number
only
three
people
right
ahead of them
now.
is
There's three
Jazz
teams
and
that
Suns.
Jazz are 9-3, Suns are 7-3, Blazers are 7-3, and then the Nuggets are 7-3.
Okay.
So
Which is interesting. Yeah, because the Nuggets actually their first couple games, I think they were like 2-3 to start. But anyway, yeah, they look pretty good. It's nice seeing Dame fully healthy and having just a team to operate with. Whether it's going to be enough for them to go deep in the playoffs, let alone, I mean, it depends what the play-in looks like, depending who's sitting there. It's going to be interesting.
I'll take the victory lap on this one right now. Just if Dame stays healthy, I see them as a top 6 seed if they're going to continue to win at this
Top
clip.
six. I mean,
Out of the
they
play-in.
might keep. We'll see.
If he
Israel,
stays
we'll
healthy,
see.
and if he stays, it's a tough ask because he's doing a lot right now. But these are the games, and look, even if you go check the receipts, I said uh, I think they're going to be a play-in team, and Dame's going to show up, and they're going to win the play-in game and make the playoffs. I have them as my 8 seed. So, um, all that to say, like if they're going to, these are the games, these are the things they have to do to get there, right? They have to start 7-3 and have a stretch of 10 games where they win seven, right? And even if they go 5-5 in the next, okay, they still, they're still in a good place because of this hot start, and that's going to. I think that's just going to. It's already mathematically carrying them a long ways in terms of making at the very least a play in. I think they'll be. I think they could be the 6th seed, especially. I mean, shoot, they're winning at a 70% clip, and they're looking good doing it. So, um,
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, they've been solid. I mean, they've.
do I think they'll finish as the 3 seed? No, I'm not going to go
Yeah,
that far.
it's a
But
very that's a tough ask,
I
and
could
obviously, I don't think the
see.
Jazz are going to finish as the first seed.
Yeah. Well, at this point,
That's
I'm starting to buy in, dude. it's I mean, I'm
say
not
that.
buying into anything as the 1 seed, obviously, but like, I'm sorry, I would have thought them. They're 9-3. I would have thought them to be 3-9 at this point.
Oh, that would have even been generous, to be honest with you. It was a roster of just kind of whatever, and it's worked. I don't really know how else to say
Yeah,
it.
and this is like
Um,
we talked about it too in our NBA preview. Like, there's always one or two things on each conference that happen where that just absolutely nobody saw coming. Some team's going to come out of nowhere and just have a really good season, like the Knicks a couple of years back, right?
right,
It
right.
looks like right now, it looks like it's going to be the Jazz. We'll see if they can hold on. But um,
No, yeah, they're off to a good start as well, and you say looking good doing it, they have done so. Just guys like Markkinen come to mind, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, just names that, I guess when you look at it, as a roster, I'm not going to say they're deep, but like everybody they put on the floor can play. Like when Rudy Gay's at the end of your bench, I feel like that's solid. Um, it's just,
it's just team basketball, man. That's the
yeah, like
team
it's
basketball and good defense. It's
right.
that'll take you a long ways, clearly.
Yeah. So we'll see how long that lasts and continues because
I do
I'm
want to
assuming we're starting
monitor
to drop some.
I do want to monitor the current 14 seed. I just want to say this. We don't have to talk about them, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
any change of thoughts here with the Lakers being 2-8?
No, like again. We said it. It's still a small sample size. LeBron has already missed games. If he's missing games, they're gonna have problems. I already said that. Said if healthy, this team is gonna be far. But if LeBron's gonna be hurt, you can put that in the mud. That's like the 2016 Cavs. It changes everything. It's so that's my cop out. If it tends to be a problem.
All right, at least you
But
admitted it was a cop out.
oh yeah, if I'm chalking
Oh,
up
they
right
couldn't
now.
stay
Like
healthy. It is what it
if that like core is not together for at least 60 games, even fifth, like they're gonna have
is.
problems.
Such a
Like
cop out. This is exactly
it's
why I
not
put them as
though.
missing the
It's
playoffs because I
like
said
yeah, I mean
they
it's
will
it's
not be healthy and they will
and
be
yeah, I
bad.
just didn't want to speculate on like, oh, like I'm just assuming they're gonna get hurt. Because like at a certain point, I'm like, okay, they keep getting hurt. Like it's gotta stop, right? And
No,
so far it hasn't.
that's not how that
Um,
works.
yeah, I mean it has with KD. Like he had those severe injuries, but most of the time
Yeah,
he's
but
healthy. Like
there's a difference when it's like one outlying severe injury or like a Clay Thompson situation where it's like two back to back, and when it's like, oh, Anthony Davis sprained ankles, tweaked his back, pulled his hamstring, needs
but he's
back
been
surgery.
mostly fine.
I know,
It,
but
it,
like ironically, Anthony Davis has been pretty healthy this year, although we have only played 10 games. But
yeah,
um,
and Russ doesn't miss games really. He's been durable his entire career.
I just stand by what we said before. Like they have to make roster changes if they have a chance, and if they're going to be 15
But
games behind 500 by the All Star break, they're not going to make those changes. They're just going to say they're just going to quit, and LeBron's
which
going to go. LeBron will
is
pass Kareem, and
yeah,
they'll consider that their win for the year. But
right.
yeah,
And I'm not gonna go too much into it because I'm really just hoping at this point and just waiting it out. Obviously, I don't have much to be impressed over, other than Westbrook has looked good. And we might touch on a little bit more of that later, but he's this bench thing really worked. So if they start making the right roster moves and whatnot, like we've been kind of talking about, things can only go up from here. But other team that you were high on being, I mean, your second seed, Timberwolves, and they, I believe, was it 4 or 5 straight that they dropped? And ultimately,
um,
there's just been a lot of like, just I've seen just back and forth between them, like Cat calling out Anthony Edwards, clips of Anthony Edwards kind of just chillaxing, and ultimately Towns is not being good with Gobert on the floor, like efficiency wise, plus minus, all that stuff. Just watching it, like it's just kind of a bad fit. Towns is not athletic enough to be playing the floor or really anything but the center. And you have too much tied up in Gobert and Towns to not really start them both. It's gonna be really tough to bring one of those dudes off the bench. So, what are your takeaways here? I mean, because this was a team
this
that
is
on
yeah.
paper's probably a really good 2K team, but the fit is just not there, and they can't shoot. They're one of the worst 3-point shooting teams right now. So
Which does surprise me with D'Lo and Edwards and Towns. I feel like they're all decent enough shooters to
Edwards has
not
definitely
be
got to
bottom
be
tier.
more
Edwards
efficient.
maybe a
That's been his
stretch.
shot selection's been always questions, but Towns and yeah, even D'Lo is I would definitely say D'Lo's an above average 3-point shooter, and then Towns is elite for his position.
Yeah.
Um, so
So
very bizarre.
I'll say this. I've never really liked Carl Anthony Towns.
Wow.
I've never been. I see it. I see the vision. I see why people like him. I just straight up think he's soft. I'm not gonna pull the Kobe, but there are people out here who agree with this take. I think that he just does not play the big man position like a big man. We've had this debate about Joel Embiid, and that it's
Hmm.
just kind of a new era of big man. And Carl Anthony Towns, I just don't think that he's mentally got it. So if I was, I would test this out. I mean, look, they're 5-6. So say what you want about chemistry issues and whatnot. Like they're right in the mix. We talk about the
No, it's
Warriors.
not over.
No, it's not over at all.
Not even
Uh,
close.
you got to remember too. They're probably in the same vein as the Warriors. They're trying to figure out their rotations. Their what works best with who. You add in a piece like Gobert. you got to change everything, right? You got to change who's on the floor. Do we want to play Cat at the 5 and Gobert at the 4, or vice versa? Do we want to? They're not going to bring Cat off the bench, but you get my point. Like, do we want to? What do we want this guy? Who's coming off the floor first? Who's going back on? Who's in at the end of the half? Who's in at the end of the game? That sort of thing. What sets are we running with the two of them on the field?
Jeez.
Bless you, bless you.
Thanks.
But yeah, I said field. I meant court. But you get what I'm saying. If this continues to be a problem, I would move Karl-Anthony Towns. He seems to be the stem of his chemistry issues, but that's just me. So
it's fair
because
take.
I think Gobert is more effective as a big man. That's just like the bottom line.
Yeah, it depends on obviously what you look at.
They don't
offensively
need,
he provides nothing, and
they don't
I guess
need Karl-Anthony Towns offense though. That's basically what I'm saying.
The defense is more valuable to them right now.
Yes, because that's where Karl-Anthony Towns is. I'm not going to say horrible, but poor in my opinion. Very good
comparative to
talent,
the rest of the league,
but he's not a good defender. And when you're a big man, that's like a core staple of being a big guy. So
yeah,
I think they'll make it work. They'll figure it out. I'm not too worried about it. 2 seed might be a stretch, but it was a stretch at the beginning of the year. But I'm not going to go. I'll back up the take still. Anything's still possible. I mean, they're 4 games back. It's not.
Yeah, and you fair to think what you may, and like again, it's still
I do
early,
see the concern,
but
I do.
It's concerning in the sense that they're trying to figure things out. I get Gobert is a big piece, but like their starting 5 remain the same, similar to the Hawks and the Cavs, and we see like the Hawks just inserted DeJounte Murray and they look insane. The Cavs inserted Donovan Mitchell, they look even more insane. And so, not as insane as Bucks, but you see
there's a
the
difference.
Impact right away. Yeah,
Which difference?
That's, I guess, I just was expecting a little more. I definitely expected over 500 at this mark, but being 5-6 is not that far off.
They're one
it's
game
more
off,
of just when I watched against that Bucks, Bucks Timberwolves game, I was hoping to kind of see the Timberwolves cause problems and like really scare me, and that just really wasn't what I got. It was like, no, Bucks still in control, and we're missing, Middleton, Connaughton, and Ingles, like 3 key guys in a rotation. I'm not, I guess, impressed by the Timberwolves right now, and we'll see, but right now they don't pass the eye test.
Yeah, I can see that. I'll have to watch them, be on the lookout to watch a game this week of them, because I've maybe caught a
Towns
quarter.
just looks so out of place all the time. I get 3-pointing is like strong suit, but he's just not a threat off ball. You know what I mean? Like he belongs down in the paint, and it's just a weird fit from what I've seen.
Maybe they make a move. I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know if there's many buyers out there for Karl-Anthony Towns. So no. There might be, but
what do we say about a Wiseman Towns ordeal?
That would be a terrible fit. Oh gosh.
Well, you bring Wise.
They need interior defense.
Yeah, but it would be kind of insane to watch. That shooters everywhere, kind of crazy ball. I feel like they're just buying completely their system. They haven't had a true center for years.
You gonna put Draymond on Jokic?
Yeah, I mean it's worked. That's really. I mean, you get Towns, they'd probably just put on him. It wouldn't be great, and Jokic would do his thing. But you're hoping that they're just so elite offensively, like Towns would just break the game.
It'd be an interesting
fit in their system, but it's more or less just because I don't think Wiseman fits there either. And this way, Wiseman could come off the bench.
I don't think the Warriors are going to move Wiseman, and I think Wiseman has more trade value than just a swap for Karl-Anthony Towns, in my opinion, at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. And
he's 20 years old, right? Like
he's been around for like 2 or 3 years. The durability, and even just some of the trade offers I saw going into this season, it was not on the level of Towns, I don't think. But that could go back and forth all day depending who you ask. I didn't think Domantas Sabonis was worth Tyrese Halliburton, and here the Pacers are still 500 because they were able to steal them from the Kings. So
okay, we're talking about one of the best managed franchises in the history of sports and the Sacramento Kings here. So
We're pretty much the worst managed
it's one
franchise
of the
I've ever seen.
worst. One
So
of the worst.
again, in the NBA, value kind of changes on players depending on who you ask, which is kind of
Yeah.
what's pretty cool. Depending on how you view the
Yeah.
game is how you view a player. Um, but yeah, that's really I would say the big
Wow. Cat's only
takeaways from the
26.
week.
Wow.
I know it seems like he's been in the
I
league
would have,
forever.
yeah.
That's why it's so you
That
hope
does
they can
change.
make this work.
That does
But
change my thought process a little bit.
yeah, like
The
the trade value is definitely
Wiseman
still high.
comparison. Yeah.
However, we'll see. All this is just speculation. It's we'll see at the trade deadline. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
I think this year is gonna be a lot of movement. I really do.
I'd love to
There's
see it. We
already
saw it in
some,
the NFL. Movement's fun. It's fun to talk about.
yeah, and it seems just kind of ramp up every year.
So,
But yeah,
all right, let's talk about some sleeper contenders here.
yeah, because I think we mentioned a couple earlier.
We have talked about a couple teams, but I'll go first. Team that's left off the page to me. You mentioned them, but the Hawks are way better than I would have thought they'd be.
Yeah,
They
I'm glad you brought them up.
they
I
are,
really am.
like you said, they put DeJounte and Murray in there, and all of a sudden it's not 100% all on Trey Young, and they are 7-3, and they're a legit 7-3. They're the Bucks' first loss.
Yep,
It was last
without
night.
Trey Young.
Oh wow, I forgot about that. I knew that. And I forgot
DeJounte
about
Murray
that.
had a day. That was
Let's look at
quite the
this.
game.
DeJounte Murray,
On the
25,
season, he's
11, and
yeah,
8. Wow. They
he
got
was lights out,
24 out of AJ Griffin, 14 out of Justin Holiday, and then
which is an anomaly. I'll say that AJ Griffin's he's all right, but
The Bucks were missing Middleton, correct?
oh yeah, and Connaughton and
And
Ingles.
Connaughton.
So that
Yeah.
rotation's thin right now, but
But they've been rolling without him.
regardless,
Yeah.
regardless, right? The fact the Hawks were able to step up and they did a lot of interesting things with having Capella and Okongwu in there, like just being able to kind of jam up Giannis, being able to match the size with like John Collins, as well as they could.
Could be the
What the Bucks
recipe.
got, it
We
is,
talked about that a couple
and
weeks back. Like, what's the recipe to beat the Bucks? Get a bunch of guards and then get a bunch of tall guys and
well, yeah,
try
I
and
mean,
contain.
honestly, the recipe is
Make
just
them make free
containing and
throws.
no, you're right, and honestly, the DeJounte Murray is really it not only does two things. It one takes a lot of load off Trae Young. Is you saw he didn't even have to play and they still won. But the second thing is defensively, that is a game changer because my thing when we'll talk about the Cavs because I think they're still a sleeper contender. But my
I wouldn't
primary
even call them. I
issues,
wouldn't have them written down because I don't think they're a sleeper at this point.
well, they're a sleeper for me because they're big and it's primary issue and really their only issue, but it's a big one. Is they have two guards that are standing at 6'1". And just realistically, you're
And
not going to run into teams
you're
that
saying
have guards
Murray.
that small.
How tall is DeJounte Murray? I know he's
He's
taller than
six
that.
six. He looked big out
Wow.
there, and it was like when he was marking like Holiday, it was like whoa wow, and then we start kind of going off Grayson Allen. So then he started just marking Grayson Allen, and he would get under screens and still contest a three. Like
He's long.
it
Yeah.
was crazy. So that is a game changer for them. I think the Hawks could go as high as one of the better, like top 3 seed in the conference. Realistically, this team is deep. They still don't have Bogdanovich back. That's another tall shooter for them, 3-and-D wing. And I loved what I saw from them. Obviously, not that they beat the Bucks, but it was impressive.
Well,
That's all I got to say on that.
It's more than just a one night showing too. How do you want to
Agreed.
emphasize that?
It's been
Like,
all
this is,
season. Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I could see him as a top 3 seed right now. And the East is packed, in my opinion, because the Cavs are who I thought they'd be. a
Yeah.
really good regular season team that, like you're saying, probably might have some issues in the playoffs. Um,
Yeah.
they are. I think you hit it on the head, and I'll move on to the Cavs here. But because is that your East sleeper contender?
Definitely. Yeah. That's my
Yeah,
East sleeper contender.
it's hard. Like I said, it's hard for me to call them a sleeper when they're 8-2. and sitting at the
But
two
going
seed.
into the season, we'll call it
Yeah,
relative going into the season
relative
because,
going
like,
into the season,
you
I
know,
had him at the 2 seed or the 1 seed. So
the Hawks.
uh, no, the Cavs.
Oh, the Cavs. Yeah, no, that's yeah. If we're referring to the Hawks, that's I feel like
No,
that's been a sleeper
I had
going
the
in.
Hawks missing the playoff. Oh no, I had the 7 seed. You
Yeah,
had 6 for the
playing.
Hawks. I had 7 for the Hawks. I had Cavs at the 1, um,
Hmm.
which is very interesting. But yeah, let's pivot to the Cavs. I think you hit the nail on the head. I really don't have that much to add to the fact that their biggest issue is going to be height. I think their interior defense is really good, and
Absolutely.
Mitchell is a decent perimeter defender. He's just 6'1", so say he has to guard Dejounte Murray.
It's gonna get interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you're
so
leaving Garland on an island essentially with
yeah,
Trey Young.
because now you're saying they probably match up. They probably match up Mitchell with Trey Young, if you ask me, but because he's more of an offensive threat. But
But
then
then
you
I
get
feel
that
like
mismatch
Murray would just
with Murray. So I
yeah.
don't know
It's
what they would do. Um, but yeah, the Cavs. I think that like this is you go check the receipts. I said this. I said they're going to win a lot of regular season games. I don't think that they're going to come out of the East.
Yeah, which is fair. Just given like the age of the roster, they don't have anybody that's like proven in the playoffs other than Donovan Mitchell. And I guess Kevin Love back in the day. I mean that's he is solid though off the bench for him, and that's what makes
Yeah,
team interesting is they actually do have surprisingly good depth. But we will see how far of a playoff run they do go because I'm assuming they're gonna get there, especially what we've seen so far. They should be in, but we'll see. At the end of the day, like it's just that's kind of what the NBA is this far into the season. We're really getting reads on teams, but there's still 70 games to go and a lot of trades that are going to be happening. But no,
how about
I think, yeah,
the
West.
West? Yeah, how about the West?
Yeah,
Who do you got?
there's my it really
I swear to God, if you say the
and
Grizzlies, I'm going to be so mad at you.
nah, because
That
honestly,
is
it's not
not a
really a
sleeper for
sleeper.
you.
It's
You
really
have
not a
been hyping up the
sleeper.
Grizzlies.
Right. And when I think of sleeper, it's a team that I feel like people kind of just write off because as good as they were last year, you just look at the roster and it's just Luka and everyone else. And I really think Luka has not had a game under 30 points this year. It's like 40 and 35 every other night. This dude has been nuclear and they don't have a whole lot around him. It's like Dinwiddie can sometimes take the ball out of his hands, but if either of those guys miss time, like I seriously don't know who dribbles the ball up the floor. Like it might be like Reggie Bullock or like
I really don't know either. So
or like Mark Cuban. Like it's
Mark
really not.
Cuban.
Like they do not have a lot of depth at the guard right now. And obviously we knew that was gonna be a problem with Brunson, but they're kind of like go out and get like a Mike Conley at the deadline. Now even like Goran Dragic, Kobe White, I feel like is actually available from the Bulls. But there's a trade market there to go get another guy that can take some of the weight off Luka Doncic because that's really all they need right now is just another guy to facilitate so you can you can use Luka in a different way. Their offense is so
yeah,
predictable right now, but the talent is
they're missing,
clearly
and
there.
people have said this before. They're missing Pippen.
They are. They really
That's it.
are.
It
It's
doesn't have to
like
be a
you're
wing
just
player, but that's it.
no, a defensive stopper that can just consistently, give you something offensively and just be a threat. And they don't have a threat. Like their next like real threat is Christian Wood, who has been playing very well, but it's not in level like a Pippen, like you're saying. To make this
Yeah,
team a contender, that's why they're still a sleeper. They got to make the move. They got to go out the deadline, be aggressive,
yeah.
get
Or
that
find
next guy.
honestly find it in the draft if you want to. They got time in terms of Luca being young if they're looking to build for the long
I don't know
run
what is
here.
his contract extension
It
though.
doesn't
Like what?
matter. He's not going anywhere. They're going to pay him a lot for however many years.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point.
I
I
mean, I'm
just
just saying he's on a 5-year deal. He just signed.
Oh, he did sign that
He
max.
signed it. He
Okay.
signed an
The
extension to his
rookie.
rookie. Right
Yeah.
now, I think he's on his rookie deal.
I think he's on his
Nope,
rookie
nope.
max.
This is the first year of the new contract.
Yeah. Okay. So
So
that's
he's
good
there
for
for
the
a long time.
Mavericks' sake. I'm just saying that's would be my sleeper contender, just in the fact that they're a move away, and like it really is that. Like it's even like a Tobias Harris, like just an option. It's like, oh, it's not a huge deal, but it is considering how no depth can be seen anywhere on this roster. I should
Yeah.
have looked at their team for who he play for, and just obviously try to name the roster, but we'll get into that later. Yeah,
My
that's definitely
sleeper
my
in the
sleep for the
West.
West.
I'm glad we don't have the same one. So I wrote down two teams.
Yeah,
I did write the Blazers
yeah,
because
that's a clear one. We
we
talked a lot
talked about it
about
already, so
that.
I don't need to say anything. But um, and I stated by contender, I think that they could get out of the play-in. I think that is I could see that happening and maybe winning a playoff series. But
And who
that
knows what
might
Dame can do?
it might be their
You know, who
ceiling,
knows?
right? So the other one, now they are in a 2-game losing streak, so their record doesn't look as good as it did when I was looking at this preparing for the week. But
Right.
I still really love this roster, and it's super young, relatively young. I think the Pelicans are a sleeper team in the West right now that everybody was like really hyped up on preseason. They're like, oh, that's my sleeper team. And it got to the point where I was annoyed because I was like,
Yeah.
they're not a sleeper team if everybody's picking them.
If
Like
you're a sleeper
they're not a
team,
sleeper.
right?
But now they're 5-5. And I feel like they're starting to fall under the radar as they start to settle into like actually having Zion play every night. And with McCollum, which I still loved that deal for them. And I
Yeah.
think that Ingram is going to, he took a huge step last year. He's going to continue. I mean, I believe he had 25 last night. Let me pull that up. Played the Pacers last night. Ingram had 29, Williamson had 26, and McCollum only had 9. Jeez.
Mm.
So, and you're forgetting, I'm actually Joe. I'm a Valanciunas fan too. I think he's really good and he's underrated. So, I just like the roster. The ceiling, that's where I get a little hesitant because they're in the West, which I don't know why New Orleans is in the Western Conference. We could talk about that some other time, but
Yeah, it's like
it
Minnesota.
really doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, New Orleans is even farther east than Minnesota, right?
Right.
At least with Minnesota, it's like, well, they're west of most teams. Where it's like New Orleans, I'm pretty sure
Huh.
is east of Chicago.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't
it's
track.
like it doesn't make any sense to me, and especially when they were. I guess they no, yeah, they were in Charlotte, and then they
I
went to
believe
New
so.
Orleans.
Yeah.
They were the Charlotte Hornets of the '90s, and they were the New Orleans Hornets with Chris Paul, and then now they're the Pelicans, and then the Hornets
Mm.
got a franchise back, but or they got the Bobcats back, but yeah, I I don't really have much more to add. I just think that the roster is really good, and right now they're sitting at 5-5, but I think they're a playoff team.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're definitely. I don't know where I had them, but I do think there's no way they don't make the play in. There's a couple like bad teams in the West, like Spurs, Rockets. Like there's just no way they get there. So that levels out the field a bit. And honestly, when the team is healthy and all playing together as a unit, it's a very scary starting five. I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
realistically,
Is it's
their
kind of
best
like your
lineup.
take on the Lakers a little
Yeah,
bit.
like
Like,
if they're all, you have CJ McCollum running a point. You got Herb Jones and Ingram as your 2 and 3. You got Zion at the 4 with Valanciunas at the 5. What's the weakness in that group? Because I'm not
oh,
finding one.
oh, it's
I'm
not
not.
defense. It's
CJ
not
McCollum being,
shooting.
yeah, everything's there. To inside scoring, inside defense, like everything you can think of is accounted for.
And I think that they've just
Um,
played so little games together that
right.
it's kind of like what I said about the T Wolves. Like,
Just waiting to see.
just wait it out. Like when we get to the All Star break, it'll be a real conversation, right? They'll play half
Right.
the season, a little bit over half the season, played 50 games. It's like, okay, if they're still 500, then it's like, yeah, it's probably about as good as they're going to get. But
Yeah,
you also
but
have a
being 500
Celtics.
now is all right.
Yeah, it's.
I would
I
say
just
that's
think
all
the
right right
roster
now.
is there. It's a sleeper roster, and they were really overhyped. I think because people had them as like their top 5 seed preseason, and I was like, they just haven't played games together. That's the bottom line. They haven't played any games together, especially since McCollum got there mid last season. He hasn't played with Zion. He's
Right.
played 10 games with Zion. That's it.
Yeah. It's gonna take time, definitely. But no, it's definitely I would agree. That's a major sleeper. Um Excuse me. We
Yeah.
can
So,
move on over to we got a couple segments. That's for sure.
yeah.
We got our usual. We got our
Got some
better or
better or
worse.
worse.
But I kind of want to start. It's nice ending off with the better or worse. The who he play for is
Who he play for?
some comedic relief,
Inspired
and
by
yeah,
TNT.
right. And
Uh,
I kind of want to go on a limb here. I got 5 guys lined up. I
okay.
want to see if you can just get 3 of the 5
I
correct.
am very
I have
not
a feeling
confident.
you may get them
I
all
did
wrong.
some homework, but yeah, I am not confident.
Just to clarify, like this, I might have to tone this back a bit next week. One of these guys, I wrote them down. I had to go back and look up what team he was on. I was like,
Oh my
I forgot that
gosh.
quickly. And
Oh
so we'll just get right
gosh.
into it. Who he play for? Frank the Tank Kaminsky.
I looked at this today. Oh my gosh. Oh, I think he's in. All right, here's who comes to mind. He's not in New Orleans or not in Charlotte
Yeah.
anymore. I'm thinking it's either the Spurs or the Nuggets
Mm,
or the Grizzlies.
mm.
I think it's this. No, it's not the Spurs. The Spurs was somebody else. Um, I think it's the Nuggets. No, no. Oh, gosh, this is so good. San Antonio. Final answer. San Antonio.
Final answer. Yeah, so he's actually out east. I saw him last night. He was on the Hawks. I saw him at the end of the bench. I was like, oh,
No,
wow.
I gotta
He was
look
a
this
late
up.
addition. Yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, that's Frank Kaminsky,
Frank
man, the
Kaminsky
Wisconsin
team,
legend.
Atlanta Hawks. That wasn't even close.
Yeah, I almost wanted to
I didn't
point you in
even
the
have the
direction and
right
be like, yeah.
conference, man.
Yeah, and that's okay. I would say some
All
of
right,
them
all right, all right.
might get
Kick
easier.
you off. I'm gonna kick you off with it should be a layup for you. But when I saw this guy, I was like, dang, I didn't even know I thought he retired like 5 years ago.
Oh, no.
But it should be a lay. I think you should get this, okay?
Yeah.
Who he play for? Serge Ibaka.
Oh, dude, that's my team. He's on the Bucks.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
but no, I admit this
You
to me.
thought he was out of the league.
If he was playing for anybody else, you would not have any idea.
Fair enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
probably have no idea. Kind of
Looked
like
at his
this
numbers
other.
last night. He had 4 points and 4 rebounds. So
Oh
he's
yeah, no,
not.
he's like as mid as they come. Like I'm actually
I no. I
assuming he
literally
plays
thought he
himself out of
retired.
the
I literally
rotation.
thought he retired in 2017, like from
Yeah.
OKC. I didn't know he played for anybody else ever.
Yeah, no, that's a fair take.
And he's always on
Probably would have forgot
2K.
he existed
The
too.
thing is, he's always on 2K now as the analyst too. So like, I
Is he?
think yeah. Like you go into my career on 2K on next gen, and he's
And
like
Surge is in there. I didn't even know that. Yeah.
insert. Oh no, that's Perkins actually.
Oh, getting the two former Thunder bigs mixed
Yeah,
up.
former
That's
mid
okay.
Thunder bigs.
Hey, we'll keep it with the mid big men. We
Okay.
know where Brooke Lopez plays for, but where's Robin these days? Do you have any idea where Robin
Robin
Lopez?
Lopez isn't in
I'll
Europe,
give
bro.
you a hint. We've talked about this team today a good portion. We
Robin.
definitely talked. It was one of the teams like we spent time talking about.
Well, that's not good. Where was he last year? Was he in Chicago
He was on the Magic
recently?
last year. He was on the Magic last
Okay,
year.
well, if he's on a team like the Magic, I have no
Well,
chance.
we didn't talk about the Magic.
Yeah,
We so
is
think about
he?
teams we talked about today.
Oh, he might be in Portland. I think he's in Portland.
Portland is a good guess. I think he might have been there 2 or 3 years ago. He is on the Cavs. Yeah, I don't know if he's suited
Like
up,
I've
but
watched like 3 Cavs games this
yeah,
year.
yeah, he might be one of those guys that's at the end of the bench, and yeah, so might have been cheating a little bit on my part there,
All
but I
right.
did say really the only qualifying factors like they got to be like 4 or 5 years into the league. Like we gotta
Yeah, yeah,
have to
yeah,
remember who they are.
yeah,
But
yeah.
what you got next?
All right, all right,
This is
all
this
right.
is
This is
great. This
fun.
is
This is
great.
fun. So you actually mentioned this guy today.
Okay.
So I'm very I don't know. I actually am still gonna go with this. Uh and I'm not gonna say who he played for last year, but who he played for, Austin Rivers.
Oh man, see what's great is I actually had him wrote down too. So I know he plays
Oh
for the Timberwolves, but I will tell you what, that was another one that I literally only knew because of watching Bucks games. Like I probably would have thought he was still on the Nuggets. I never saw that transaction until seeing him again on the bench against Bucks.
All
But
right, I'll give you another one then. I only have five
yeah, yeah.
written down. So
Okay.
who he play for, Danny Green.
I actually do know this. He's on the Grizzlies. I
Dang
know he's coming
it.
back from torn ACL. That was a good one. And
Dang
again,
it.
another one. I just was reading some articles, whatnot. I stumbled across him, so I got lucky there. Wow. Okay, so I'm actually doing all right with yours so far. I think I might stump you again,
I
but
wouldn't
we
be
will see.
shocked.
All
I
right.
wouldn't be
This
shocked.
is. I'll definitely say this is. He's on like he plays. All right. He definitely plays. Jamaica. It's not a Robin Lopez deal. Jamichael Green.
Bro,
And
I
he's
have no
definitely
clue.
he is on a contender. He is on a
He's on a
surefire
contending
contender.
team.
He is on a
Okay.
surefire
Is he,
contender.
who was
Yes.
he on last year? Was he on? Why did the Rockets come? Is that because of Jalen Green?
Because I think you're thinking of Jalen Green or Jeff Green. Jamichael
Jeff
Green was on the Nuggets last year, but
was the Nuggets.
I will also help you
Denver
out.
is like
He's on a
Oakland.
contender and he's not on the Nuggets.
Denver is like the Raiders. Team players go there and you forget they exist, and then they appear other
Yeah.
places. And you're like, oh, where's he been for 3 years? Like,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Jamichael Green is on a contender. Oh, is he on? Is he in Phoenix? Oh,
Is he on Phoenix?
is he in Phoenix? I've actually watched a decent amount of Suns games. I think he's in Phoenix. I might be thinking of Damian Lee, but I'm gonna go with Damian, or I'm gonna go with Phoenix.
Yeah, you're definitely thinking Damian Lee, and it's basically a swap because Jamichael Green's on the
He's
Warriors.
on the Warriors.
Yeah, I was
Oh
watching. I'm
my
like, who is
gosh!
that? And he played extended time. It was all,
All
I
right,
thought it was Jeff Green for a second.
I got 3 more for you because I did think of
Got
another.
another one.
Yeah, I'm gonna write it down though because I'm not gonna say it right away because I think you'll
Fair
get
enough.
it. All right. I'm gonna be shocked if you get this guy because I was absolutely certain he was still playing for the team that he played for last year. Um,
Okay.
who he played for? Bruce Brown.
Oh man, I'm so sorry that my knowledge is this good. He's on the
Are you
Nuggets.
kidding me?
I remember seeing that. I was like, oh, that might be major for them come playoffs. Yeah. I
Oh
think that's a
my
good bench move for him.
gosh!
Yeah, I know. He's on
I'm
the
bringing
Nets for a
some
long
heat
time.
next year. Also, my last one. I'm just 100% confident you're not getting, but
Okay. We'll see. We'll see.
unless you
Because
saw it, and then it's gonna be ruined. But go
right.
ahead.
But I got two more that I think get easier. Um, you said he watched a lot of Suns games. We'll put that. I think I just ruined the pick, actually. I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I said that at all. We'll go to the other guy. Dougie McBuckets. Where do you think he's playing?
Hug McDermott. These are guys that I would have thought to be in Europe right now.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. I could do a bonus one after this.
When was the last time that Doug McDermott played for the Bulls?
Oh, man. Like
That's
2015, 16, maybe.
that's the last time I remember seeing him.
Yeah. And I think the worst part is he actually steadily plays minutes.
Actually,
But yeah, you
actually,
might be able to think about it. Think
I
about it.
may have seen him because I remember thinking I was
He's still around. Yeah.
I'm gonna guess Miami because I remember seeing him playing with. For some reason, I remember seeing him playing with Jimmy Butler and being like, "Oh yeah, it's two
Mm.
Bulls players, old Bulls players playing together again." That's kind of weird. I'm probably wrong, but I'm gonna guess Miami.
Unfortunately, yeah, you're wrong. He's on the Spurs, which, I mean, him playing for the Spurs, how
Yeah,
would you know?
I don't know if I could name the
That's
Spurs starting five right now.
that's fair take. Yeah,
I
I
got
actually
Devin Vassell for you. That might be it.
Jakob Pertl,
That's yeah. Okay, I'll give you
Kelvin
that.
Johnson. Nick.
I could have
Yeah, but no,
Keldon
what do you got
Johnson.
next for me? Yeah,
All right, I'm gonna save the. You know what? No, I'm gonna go for this one. Okay,
here we
I'm gonna
go.
go on a limb. I'm gonna say that it is highly unlikely that you're getting this one unless you saw it on an article or something.
Okay,
Who he play for? Matthew Dellavedova.
he's still like he's on an NBA team.
Last year, he
No
played a full
way.
season last year in Australia and got signed to a team this year.
Oh no, bro. I don't think the Cavs would have picked him up again.
No,
You know
I'll give you
what?
that. He's not in Cleveland.
I'm gonna say Spurs. It's my
That's a
shot in the dark.
great guess because it's
Yeah,
a bad team.
it's a bad team. I
It's
figured.
the Kings.
Oh, I should have stayed in Australia.
Oh,
That's
he literally
brutal.
played a full season in Australia last year,
And
and he
he
got
went to the
signed. I don't think I'm going to look this up, because it might have been 2 years since he's been on the Cavs. I got to look this up. No, he was on the Cavs in 2021. 2021, 22, age 31, did not play. Other pro league, Australia. That is,
Wow.
that is so
Okay.
bad.
That is, yeah, I was not gonna get
He's
that one.
played
That
in
was good.
three games this year.
No
And
kidding.
yeah.
Yeah, good for him for staying relevant, man. My
Yeah.
my final one to you is definitely a familiar face. Don't know if he's familiar with the team. Who he played for? Taj Gibson.
Oh, I literally looked this up.
Oh no.
And I can't remember because he was okay. Where was he
Gonna be
last?
honest with you, as weird as this sounds, that was the guy I forgot as well. I put him down and I was like, wait, was it he's moved around so much. But
Where
I'll
was
give you,
he
he's in the
last year?
Eastern Conference. And last year, I believe he was still with the Knicks.
Okay. Then he's in Detroit this year.
He's not in
What?
Detroit. He's on the
What?
Wizards.
The Wizards?
I
I
don't
forgot
remember
there
how
was a
that happened.
team.
Yeah, and
No,
it was
I was so
very
confident.
yeah, no, I feel like the
Taj Gibson, basketball reference.
yeah, it was the
He's never even
Wizards.
played for Detroit. Why did I think it was Detroit?
Yeah, you might have been thinking of Charlie Villanueva, both bald figures, but um,
Oh man. All right,
yeah.
last guy. Last guy. This guy has a Brandon. Is it Brandon Skoranek? Is that his first name from the Rams? He has that kind of vibe to me.
Okay.
Random white dude who just pops up out of nowhere.
No
Dante
way.
DiVincenzo. Who he played.
Oh, I saw this because I the Warriors. I don't
Okay.
know how much he's played for him this year, but
He's
yeah, and
actually getting minutes.
some minutes, yeah,
But
and him
every
being a
time he
former
shows up on the
Buck, you know.
floor, I'm like, why is he out there? Like, what, why
Yeah,
is he out there? Like, he does
it's
not
so
belong.
random for that team. It really is. I don't know. It really serves for them, but
Dang. So I went 1 for 5 because Rivers doesn't count.
yeah,
Dang.
hey, it's not bad, man.
Oh,
This
I'm
is a
gonna
tough.
find. No, I'm coming next
Chuck
week with.
usually, yeah,
I'm
Chuck
coming
usually
next
gets
week
me
with
on.
some with with
Oh,
some
I held
Euro
back. Some of
players,
these
bro.
names aren't even fair. You're like, who even is that? But hey, you know, if they're vets and we've seen enough of them, they got to be talked about.
Oh, I'm gonna be
We can end it off.
scouring the bench. first.
Yeah, some marquee names, if you will. Uh, we'll just dive right in because it's getting late here. We got the better or worse though. We still got to go over because
Better or
that's our
worse, yeah.
game, and there's some
This is the fun
definitely
one.
interesting names to talk about given
I
the
have
events
I
so
have
far.
put I have put some thought into this today. I have prepared
Yeah,
every name I'm going to ask you. I've not done this before, so I'm going to see how it goes. But I'll
nice,
kick you off.
nice.
I'll kick you off. I got two names for two guys for you to go through. We're going to start with Brandon Ingram. I
Mm-hmm.
talked about the Pelicans today. Most improved player last year.
Love it.
Better or worse, Brandon Ingram or Andrew Wiggins?
Yeah, see, this is where a lot of people might give me flack for it, but I really think Brandon Ingram is the better player. I think if you switch those two guys right now, the Warriors are significantly better. I understand what
Interesting.
Wiggins brings defensively, but I also understand the player Brandon Ingram is. And no matter where he's been a bucket. He's also, I think, underrated defensively. I mean, the dude is built similar to KD. So, yeah, I'm going with Brandon Ingram.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
We'll keep it rolling.
I'm pretty high
Brandon
on him.
Ingram or Zion Williamson?
Yeah, see, I can't put him over Zion just due to the fact of what I've last seen from Zion was again, we're looking at guys when they're healthy. And when he was last healthy, he was getting like 26 a night by just going in the paint. I mean, Zion is so unstoppable when he's playing. I think that I honestly could be a topic for another day, a better or worse for Zion, because I'm pretty high
Interesting.
on him as well. Yeah.
I might go the other way, but
That's fair because Brandon Ingram has
just
definitely
from
proven more.
reliability in terms of health. Um,
Absolutely.
but all right, we'll keep it rolling. Brandon Ingram or Paul George?
Oh man. See, and that's a really good one. Paul George gets the nod here just due to the fact he's had playoff success and like he's
Okay,
proven he can
what
carry his
about
own team.
tomorrow night? Who would you rather have?
Paul George slightly, slightly, just
Okay,
because he's definitely a better defender marginally,
I
and
could agree with that.
offensively, I think it's similar.
I could agree with that.
And
Paul George
yeah,
does get the
no,
nod in defense in my head. All right. So based on the guys you've named, you're probably going to go Ingram here, but I did write him down. Brent, because I wanted to have low names and high names, depending on where.
right,
But
right,
Brandon Ingram, he's not playing this year, but he was a big contributor last year. Jay Crowder.
yeah,
Yeah, I figured based on what you've said, I figured you
yeah.
go Ingram.
Jay Crowder's a good fit with teams, but yeah, he can't do much on his own.
Brandon Ingram or Julius Randle.
Brandon Ingram.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like Julius Randle.
Two
I think
more.
he's going to continue to fall.
Two more. Now, this is a guy I put on there because I know you really like him. Brandon Ingram or Jaren Jackson.
Interesting, but I actually am still just going to rock with Brandon Ingram. You can't tell me that Brandon Ingram isn't more deadly than Jaren Jackson is entertaining. I think he can continue to develop and grow as a player, but from what I've seen so far, I would fear Brandon Ingram every night, no doubt.
All right. All right. Fair enough. Last guy, Brandon Ingram or Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, so this is where I'm going to finally have to hop off the Brandon Ingram train. Jimmy Butler is still that guy. I understand the Heat have been sluggish so far to start the year, but he's got to check back to last year's playoffs. I mean, really any playoffs, his
so
numbers
is
will always increase. He's one of those guys that he steps up, and not
so
all guys can do that.
is Ingram then? What small forwards are you taking before Brandon Ingram? Butler, probably Braun and AD.
I mean, AD or Katie, is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
I
Is
said KD. Yeah,
classifying? Yeah. They said 80 for a second. Katie, I would take him. Yeah, LeBron, I would take Kawhi.
I'm saying okay,
If we're
Kawhi. I'm saying
classifying Paul
Giannis as
George,
a
yeah,
four,
yeah, Giannis is a four to me as well.
but
Yeah, I'd have to really actually search because there's really, I mean, you saw Wiggins get the All Star nod last year at the small forward position. It's not extremely deep. So I do feel comfortable with my ranking. I guess Jason Tatum I would put over him as well, or Jalen Brown. Every other
Tatum.
three there. Um,
All right,
but
all right.
yeah,
That was a pretty good exercise.
no, yeah,
That was
for
pretty good.
sure. I love talking Brandon Ingram. He's definitely still a very underrated player in my eyes.
I'm a fan. I have to agree with basically everything you said, except
Yeah,
I would have given a little more thought. I'm not very high on Jimmy, so
Wiggins.
and I would have given more thought to Wiggins because
I figured the
you
Wiggins
did
one.
mention playoff success for Paul George. You have to keep an even scale when you compare the two.
Well,
Compare
it's
Wiggins.
comparative to being the bus driver, if you know what I'm saying. Like
I agree.
being the
No,
number one
I
guy.
agree. But Wiggins, um,
Uh,
you
yeah,
could you
it's a
could
debate.
make an argument that he was in the he definitely was in the conversation. Um, but Finals MVP, you could
Yeah,
have made that case if you ask me.
absolutely, absolutely. We'll run into because I got two guys as well, and the first one is going to be Rudy Gobert. As much
Yeah,
as we have
you
talked
know
about,
I'm high on Rudy
all
Gobert,
right. So
and you know I love my defense
naturally,
too.
yeah,
Defense wins
naturally,
championships.
um, Towns is going to be the first guy up. I have a
Go.
feeling you're taking Gobert.
I already
As you
said
said
Gobert.
it earlier, right? So next, then, because again, you say how much you like defense. Bam Adebayo.
Oh, I actually might surprise you here and go Bam. I think Bam is almost just as good, probably a step below Gobert, just because Gobert is getting DPOYs almost every year at this point.
Right.
But he's right. He's the second best interior defender in the league, right? He's right there. And I think Bam brings more on offense. So I think Bam is more complete in that sense. If I am just trying to play defense, it's Gobert. But Bam is that good of a defender that Gobert's number one advantage over basically everybody else you're going to name. That's where it's at the smallest in my head.
Okay. No, that's a very
So
good way
Bam.
to speak it. All right. All right. I'll go with interesting direction. Anthony Davis. Better or worse than Gobert. When healthy.
When healthy right now, I still have questions about Anthony Davis this year.
Hmm.
If you'd have talked to me in 2020, Davis by a mile over 2022 Gobert. Does that make sense?
Right.
Um,
No, that does make sense.
but even healthy right now, Davis in my head is a little bit how you feel about Klay Thompson.
Hmm.
He just doesn't have it in my eyes. He just doesn't. He's not bad. He's not as bad as Clay has looked, but in terms of a
I was say
difference maker,
stat wise, he's been all
stat wise,
right.
he's there. But in terms of a difference maker on the court right now, I'll say, let me say it like this: if I'm playing a Jokic, an Embiid, um, any other big man, I'm blanking on. I mean, obviously Gobert. If I'm playing Towns, if I'm playing Davis, I would rather have Gobert on my team than Davis tomorrow night.
Okay.
So
And
I'm
just
going to
because
say
you mentioned
Gobert.
him, yeah, no, and I kind of saw that one coming. I figured consistency wise, and just what have you done for me lately? Makes sense to pick Gobert. Just just in case there's anything crazy, you're not taking him over Jokic or Embiid,
No,
right?
no, 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 no.
Just yeah, just getting that
There
out
does
there.
come a point here where offense becomes well. Actually, Bam Adebayo is that point
Yeah, okay,
where
no,
offense
that's a
becomes
very
more
fair,
valuable.
yeah, very fair take on it. And I guess my really only other center that you could just talk about here, given his team success, and I guess what he does provide, given the Nets days and what he's done for the Cavs, Jarrett Allen.
I
Is that
actually I love
I
Jared
know,
Allen.
yeah, you gotta love him.
I love Jared Allen. I think he's a really good player, and he's a really good. How old is he nowadays? He's still
Younger than
really
probably we'd realize. I think he might be in that 26, 27 category,
quick
like
Google
Towns.
search. He's 24.
24. Yeah, jeez. So he's
Um,
got a lot of time.
I think that in a year's time, I'd go Allen, but right now, kind of like you with Paul George, Gobert's more proven.
No, that's can respect that. My final question on the Gobert thing, just
I think
kind
I
of see
know who
where
you're
his
gonna.
value is. Yeah, Gobert, Anthony Edwards.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Draymond. Uh,
No,
Gobert or
no. I think
Edwards?
Gobert is
Edwards.
way better than Draymond.
Edwards.
Okay,
Ceiling
so you
is
so your hierarchy for the T Wolves would go as Ant, um,
Ant
Gobert,
Gobert.
Towns.
I might go D'Lo, but sure, Towns.
Wow, wow,
I
okay.
just don't like Towns. I think that he is the problem, right? The problems of chemistry and whatnot that we discussed earlier, I think those literally stem from him. I could be
I
wrong. I'm
do
not
I
in the
do
locker
no.
room.
I actually I don't
So,
think like you're technically wrong. I think he's definitely the biggest like non-fit, like in
well,
terms of like he
it's
doesn't.
not even like a non-fit on the court. Like you've seen the stuff about like Cat just like criticizing Anthony Edwards' diet to the media.
Yeah,
Like
I know stuff you
why are you
shouldn't
doing that?
do.
Why are you saying what are you doing?
Yeah,
Right?
you think
So
D'Lo would like teach him you shouldn't be saying stuff to
yeah,
media
like, if
about
you have a
teammates,
problem
but
with it, sure. But first off, the dude's 20. Like go teach him what to do. And if he's not going to listen to you, okay, but don't go to the media and sound off about it. Like that's just
yeah,
that to
no
me.
need.
And Cat has a history of this kind of stuff. He has a history of just being. I just think he's soft, but
No,
um,
I hear you. I just I love my offensive weapons, and
you do. You do. We have
I
very
do
different
remember
philosophies.
he had like a 50-20 game last. I mean that
Oh
when he's
yeah, I
on,
mean,
he can be nutty. So yeah, I do think the would that be a very interesting conversation if you had him as
I would
the
still take Edwards
fourth
because
man.
Edward. To go back to the original question, Edwards' ceiling is higher than almost anybody in the league. You could argue. um,
Yeah, no, if he puts
there's
in the
few
work,
names.
he's
There's few names that have a higher ceiling than Anthony
yeah,
Edwards right now. So,
for sure, for sure.
all right. Well, we'll flip it back. We got one more each. One more each.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go the superstar route here. Better or worse than Luka Doncic? We talked a little bit about they need to find their Pippen, they need to find their Klay Thompson, their number two guy, their Kyrie, you could say, or their Shaq to their Kobe, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, right now, better or worse, Luka Doncic or Steph Curry?
Oof. Yeah, getting right into it
We're
because
diving right
honestly,
in.
it's a short list for me for Luca. So we're gonna be talking about some marquee players just by default. It's yeah, we're gonna really just have to stick with Curry because he's literally the champion, literally beat Luca in the conference finals.
Let me
To
ask you
just
this.
give Luca the nod
If
right
I were in your
now.
position, I would take the safe answer too. But let me ask you this. Are the Warriors tomorrow night, if they traded just a straight swap, Luca for Curry, are the Warriors a better team?
No, because their entire scheme is around Curry. Immediately
You
Draymond
got
loses.
Luca. I don't know if they need to
Yeah, no,
change
I
it.
think you could. I think they would just be probably just as good because they would just run a different system. But then Draymond becomes pretty much ineffective. I think maybe Wiseman would become more effective. Klay Thompson would get some wide open shots. It would be interesting. I think Poole might become more problematic because you understand Luca's not an off ball really player at all. And so, as great of a talent as he is, you have to have that team constructed around him. And as much as the Warriors could do that and they'd still be fine with Luca, it's not Steph Curry. Like that, that's just my
Would the
take on it.
Mavs be worse?
Yeah. See, that's where it gets interesting because I would have to say yes, just because what we've seen with Steph without help. And
Well,
it's like I do think like Steph is like presently like the better
what do you mean
player.
by help? Like
Like
if you're
when he
referring to
had
2020
when he
the
made the
roster
play in
was the
was
roster was in
barren.
shambles and he
It
was
was
carrying
barren.
that
And it was
team.
just like Luca
I would
though.
argue that was
Like
Steph's like best season. Like that's the best I've ever seen. That team had no business being anywhere near the playoffs, and he was night in night out going 40 or 50 just to
right.
keep them
And
afloat.
it's
And then they barely lost to the play-in. So it's an interesting question.
it is an interesting
I don't
question.
have an
Yeah. I don't
answer.
know if there's a solid answer other than we'll probably see at the end of this year if Luca can take those reins. But
Yeah.
Right now, I can't really give it to him.
Safe play. Safe play. I
Yeah,
respect it.
got to.
Luka Doncic, I think I know where you're going with this based on what you just said, but Luka Doncic or Kyrie Irving?
Yeah, Luka.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
figured.
especially when recently came out. Yeah,
Yeah,
Kyrie's never available.
that's a different conversation, but we're just
Yeah,
talking
it's
on the floor. Luka Doncic or LeBron?
yeah, and I mean, if we're talking today, it's Luka. We've seen LeBron with
LeBron, he
like
just doesn't
arguably
got the
better,
legs anymore.
honestly. Yeah, like it's
To go
just
night in and night out. I think if you were playing one game, yeah, you could go
that's a
LeBron, but
conversation.
it's a
Yeah, if we're talking
conversation
about
that
this
I
year.
still might pick Luca. I
Right, yeah,
still
just because
might
he's
pick Luca
old.
over 38-year-old LeBron James. So, yeah,
Yeah.
all right. Here's one for you: Luka Doncic, or you know what? I'm gonna flip flop. Luca or Trey? I'm assuming you're gonna go Luca.
Yeah,
Give you
yeah,
the
just
layup
because
first.
Trey's such a liability
How about KD?
defensively. Oh, because here's where things get interesting, right? In a one-on-one, like Katie's beating Luca. However, like, NBA basketball, like what helps your team the most?
Well, they're
KD is
both on
not,
islands right now.
and KD has been doing worse on that island with Kyrie. Sometimes, even when he was playing, everyone's kind of critiquing KD for turnover. It's like, yeah, because he's coming up and getting double tripled, but Luca also finds a way. Like he just makes that pass quicker. I just he's Luca is one of probably the best playmakers in the league, if not the best, in terms of just the ability he can to pass. It's not that KD can't. It's just he's definitely not on that level. It's hard to be on that type of level, and we're seeing it. I mean, the Mavericks are having success with less, and the Nets are still struggling. So I'm going with Luca, but honestly, like even last year before they got swept, I could have went with KD. I really could have.
Okay, that's fair. Um, all right, I got four more. I think you're gonna go Luca with this one, so this might be pretty easy. Luca or Dame?
No, yeah, Luca.
Okay. Luca or Zion?
Luca.
Okay.
Zion
Now
is
we're
not
getting to
even
the two,
close to
the
enough.
two, the two good ones here. Luca or Giannis?
Giannis, Luca doesn't want a championship, and what
Doesn't have an
Luca,
MVP either.
right? Like what Luca does, Giannis can be doing. It's just he has way more around him.
Okay.
Like it's just yeah,
Final. I figured you'd go Giannis. You're a fanboy. So, uh,
yeah, that
Luca
makes sense too.
or prime Dwayne Wade? Peak D Wade.
Peak D Wade is great. He is, but he again is not anywhere near the playmaker that Luca was.
Really?
Yeah, I really think,
Really? What if
and
I say?
honestly, I don't think in a couple years this is a conversation.
What if I say peak Kobe?
That is where you kind of draw the line because Kobe does what kind of Luca has been doing, maybe not to the playmaking extent, but definitely on the scoring level. So, gonna roll with Kobe. But it is a very interesting argument, and honestly, it could depend on the day with Wade. But you're really the only reason I'm taking Wade is because of like historical reasons, and like
So
what
you
he's
are
done in the
taking Wade.
past. If I were to, that's the only reason I would is
Oh,
be like,
okay.
oh, because statistically, like he put up numbers for a long time in his prime. It was a pretty long, nice stretch, but like he's never had the peak of Luca, and I don't think he ever. I mean, Luca's just going to keep
I don't know. You could
ascending.
argue
So
'06 Wade was really good.
phenomenal it was, but he wasn't averaging,
Oh boy, I'm sorry.
30-point triple double, which I think a 30-point triple double is, you know, that's imminent for this MVP season. And I'm
Yeah.
just calling my shot now. That's all. What's going
Sorry
on?
about that. The fire alarm's going off.
Oh,
I don't know what's happening, but I
you
don't
got
think my
Russ cooking in
building's
the
on
kitchen?
fire.
What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, how the ramen noodles, babe. Come on.
Yeah, jeez.
Um, oh gosh, that made me laugh. All right. I do have one question before we close. Did you see the LeBron lying meme that's going around?
Oh, it's hilarious.
I've
Because it's
known
been
about
known.
this. I've
Yeah.
known about this, but it's
It's
been a low
so
key.
nice to see it.
It's
Yeah.
nice to see it getting tracks. He said on the shop the other day, somebody was like, it was some quote about like talent.
Yeah.
And it, I saved a TikTok and I want to it combined every single one ever, and it's just like, oh yeah, he's a smart man. He's just a really smart man. And then the worst one I've ever seen, I'd never seen this before. He's on camera talking about Kobe's 81 point game, and
Yeah.
he's
He
like,
says he's like he was gonna go for
yeah,
70 or
I
something.
was 16 years old. I was sitting with my guys. I just was watching the warm ups, and I was just like, he's gonna go for 70 tonight. And I just knew it was gonna happen. I can't explain it. I just knew it was
I
gonna
can't
happen.
explain it.
I
It's
can't
like,
e- I
dude, come
can't
on.
explain it. And I'm pretty sure he says in the sentence that he was like a sophomore in high school.
Right.
The game happened in 2006. LeBron was in the league when the game happened. So I don't know what he's talking about. It makes
Kind
no
of like
sense at
well,
all.
you see where the meme stemmed from, like why it's getting conversation. He was saying how you listen to Amigos in 2010 when
The
they weren't even a
Migos
group until 2011, and it was like, dude, like you can't just like, oh
I'm
geez,
so
it's
glad you
just
saw that too. I've known about that one. The one that will always stand out to me is when he's talking
Kobe
about
one's funny.
the Kobe one's funny, but the book to me, I don't even know what the book is.
Yo, yeah, he was saying how like he
He's
read it and like
he's like, oh, I've just read notes for years. I just picked it up.
the Spark
I
Notes.
just started, and he's just. What's your favorite part so far? Then he's just a really smart man. He's just a smart guy. That's all he
Smart dude, yeah.
says. It's so funny, but yeah, I'm glad.
Oh
I'm
man.
glad we're on the same page with that one because I find it hilarious. So,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
glad it's finally getting traction.
No, yeah, I'm glad that that's the world can just see this. So
But yeah, that closes up shop. We do as tradition. We need to look up who's playing on Thursday night, so we can make our selections.
oh,
Get
it's
it on the record for Thursday night football because we record.
I thought I
Oh my gosh, I'm
know
sorry.
this one.
Falcons Panthers
Yeah, okay, yeah. Oh,
in
oh.
Carolina.
Gross. Oh man. Falcons because they've been rolling. I know it's
Solid
in
pick.
Carolina.
That's a
I
solid
know it's
pick.
Carolina. I don't even know who's gonna be a quarterback though.
Yeah, that's kind of my concern. And we can talk about this later on Thursday. But yeah, I'm rolling with the Falcons because you know how I feel about the Falcons. So
Yeah,
I'm going
they need this
Falcons.
game too.
I do want to say this. I will be picking Indianapolis this week. I'm just going on the record. I will be picking Indy.
Bold
Um,
move.
Here's why interim head coaches are always successful for no reason. Like that just they I want to know the stat on their record in their first game because it's ridiculous. Number two,
You might be
they're
right.
playing the Raiders.
Mm, we'll
So
see. We'll see.
terrible. They have a terrible run defense. Jeff Saturday is going to get in there. We'll talk way more about this on Thursday. We're getting ahead
Right,
of
right.
ourselves, but interim head coaches is my main reason for picking that, and Josh McDaniels. So,
Yeah, no, he stinks.
yeah, he does stink. So, with that being said, be sure to check us out on TikTok. Check us out YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube. All of our other platforms: Instagram, Twitter, the whole shebang. We're pushing more content out to you guys. We're enjoying this. Let us know if you have any recommendations. Have any thoughts? Reach out. Instagram, DM us. TikTok, DM us. You guys know the drill. So don't be afraid. Suggestions for better or worse. Suggestions for who we play for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Um, give us some feedback. Do what you need to do. And yeah, we got a couple fun things planned coming up for you at the end of the month. So yeah,
Absolutely.
have a good one, guys. As always, Christian, this is a blast, and we'll see you
Yes,
guys on
sir.
Thursday.
Yep. Take it easy.